Plastics. How did plastics become a crisis? It's an interesting issue if you really think about the history of what plastics are, what we use them for, how we consume them as individuals. The problem you have with plastics is that because of how good it is as a packaging material, because it is so light, so cheap, we have gotten away. We have overdone it. Everything is wrapped in plastic, even what doesn't need to be. The reality is 13% of Jamaica's waste is largely plastic, or is some form of plastic, whether it's PET, HDPE, PC, whichever other category of plastic it is. And we know that for the vast majority of this plastic, it is indeed plastic bottles. Why don't you just ban it? And people ask me that every single day. Just ban the plastic bottles. And quite frankly, you can't, because the alternative is glass, and globally there's a glass shortage. I don't know if there'll be some global event that makes glass far more available, and cleaner ways will come to sterilize it. But as it stands now, that's not an option. So we have to target it through a deposit refund scheme. But there are items that we have banned. Persons largely will remember the scandal bag ban, styrofoam ban, plastic straws. And the reasons were that these items are largely non-recyclable, they're non-biodegradable, and in many cases, because of how they're used, they emit carcinogens that are harmful to human health. We consume, especially with lunch boxes, a lot of gravy, a lot of heat. Heat and styrofoam not meant to mix in that sort of way for human consumption. Hence the challenge. Now, has the ban been perfect? No, there's no perfect public policy. Has the ban reduced by a few 100,000 tons the amount of plastic waste going into our waste stream? Absolutely. Is that a win? Absolutely. Are we proud of it? Absolutely. Can we tweak it to make it better? Absolutely. We have seen persons who have gone right outside of the regulations on plastic bags. So they've gone a little thicker or a little larger, trying to use plastic instead of paper-based and recyclable alternatives or reusable alternatives. That means we're going to have to move the goalpost. And that move will come this year. We're going to have to increase the size both in terms of dimensions and thickness and types of plastic bags that are banned. So for all of those who may be online now listening to us and contemplating their next round of purchases, I would suggest strongly to you that you look at the recycling alternatives, because you will get stuck with goods. And the minimum order quantities for these sorts of things, you will have months of goods put down. And that increase in size is coming and coming fast. We took out styrofoam, or expanded polystyrene foam, as the appropriate term should be. The intention of the ban was not for you to switch styrofoam for plastic. It is the intention of the government to remove these plastic lunch containers from the waste stream by also expanding the ban to include them. Again, I would then suggest to those who import to do so with the minimum quantities, because you don't want to get stuck with something that you'll only be able to recycle. And no, we will not be reimbursing for those, because we're sending the signal clear. Our sewage plants and wastewater processing stations really can't manage these microplastics. There is no way for us to filter them out of the wastewater stream. We don't need them. They're deleterious to human health, deleterious to marine health. They can affect soil quality. They have to go. As a part of the expanded ban, we will include microplastics as a part of personal care products. Jamaica, at the end of this financial year, will have a legislated deposit refund scheme. That system will have to work with customs, the NCRA, BSJ, NEPA, NSWMA, and indeed the Ministry of Industry, in ensuring that the way we implement it is done seamlessly, causes no disruption to supply and production, and it is done in a way where it does not trigger further inflation. So if you think of what that's trying to achieve, right? That is trying to deal with issues of collection, It's trying to deal with building out a circular economy. It's trying to get, in many ways, the public, the business community to help us collect 13% of the waste and bring it along their routes of travel to points of collection to make it easier logistically for NSWMA. But it also will help us to reduce our carbon footprint. We're going to have to disaggregate all of the things that are classified as environmental management, and we're going to have to accept that as a part of our economic development doctrine as a country, we are going to manage our environment with very strict regulations in a manner that is enforced and that gives confidence but gives predictability. Cannot be haphazard. This is why I'm very happy that NEPA was able to report that 42 persons have been prosecuted. Now, we're going to go on a drive. I'm going to be working with the NCRA and indeed Customs and the JCF over the coming months. That number is going to increase significantly based on what we're seeing in society. And we're seeing it at the higher end of the economic scale and the lower end of the economic scale. And these strictures and penalties will be applied equally regardless of where persons are operating.